How many people grew up watching SpongeBob? I bet nearly everyone raised their hands. I bet you think of SpongeBob a lot, don't you? I can even remember myself as a kid wanting to hit record on the VCR, blank VHS primed to receive the entire SpongeBob marathon, which led up to the Best Day Ever episode original air. It was another world, it seems. Many people think of their favorite SpongeBob quote or scene when something relatable to that scene happens in real life. Looking at ratings, it's as though the show was engineered for success from the beginning, and it tries its best to create the most memorable moments, some of which have become forever imprinted in our minds. As those who watched the show grew older, many revisited the old childhood favorite. Back when the seasons aired on the Nick channel, episodes and seasons couldn't be watched back to back as easily as they can now since the rise of streaming. But from an adult perspective, many of the scenes and themes presented in the show can come off as very strange, and when considered together, can seem even more odd. Among many strange theories that have been made about SpongeBob, one sticks out, perhaps due to its slightly unnerving nature. Searching for the most popular video on the topic, I found SpongeBob SquarePants skin. Oh god, I can't say it. Skin theory, posted by Doug Woolover on April 20th, 2019, over 3 years ago. I know. In the description, Woolover notes that he spotted something bizarre when watching through the first 4 seasons. This prompted an analysis conducted by Woolover. In an attempt to investigate what he believed he found, through a long analysis of the show and its creators, he states he began to uncover a well-supported conspiracy theory revolving around the first 4 seasons. His video is very good, and I encourage you to watch it. He gives a lot of evidence and explains the theory and hypothesis in depth. But what if I told you there was more to it? More cases, more evidence? Would you call me crazy? This is Skin Theory, the Other Humans. Question: why are there so many instances in the first 4 seasons of SpongeBob SquarePants where appendages, skins, costumes, and identities are removed, replaced, exhibited, referenced, traded, purchased, and replenished by and between the citizens of the show in a seemingly socially acceptable way? Skin theory hypothesizes that the mentioned events are not only linked, but likely point to a surprising truth about the residents in the show. The hypotheses are as follows. Ritualism refers to the practice or observance of ritual. Often, this is done in honor of a deity. Ritualism is found all over the world and in all walks of life. The ritualism hypothesis proposes that the residents of Bikini Bottom live in a society where this is the case, and the rituals carried out are greatly reliant on costumes. The strongest piece of evidence for this hypothesis is the existence of the Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman is introduced as a feared deity, and on a certain day, the residents are expected to dress as him, or they can expect a terrifying visit. Also known as mass hysteria, mass psychosis refers to instances where a large group of people fall victim to an illness where the cause is of an unknown agent. Real-life accounts of this are rare and interesting and often unexplainable. This hypothesis proposes that this has happened at Bikini Bottom and that the residents are potentially unaware of the severe strangeness of what they're doing. The costumed human hypothesis appears to offer the most support to skin theory. This hypothesis insists that the characters in the show are actually just humans dressed in costumes, and leans on the idea that most of what we see is scripted. Although this is the most accommodating hypothesis of the 3, there's still an alarming number of occurrences and some inconsistencies that it leaves unaddressed. So, what was missing from that video, which beautifully elaborated on the hypotheses of skin theory, setting a foundational stone and creating a seemingly solid reference point for so many SpongeBob theorists to gain a wholesome insight? A lot of humans, that's right. I noticed that many moments that I remembered and expected to be covered, moments that have a solid, undeniable connection to humans, were missing. I assume this is not necessarily intentional, but it did raise some questions. There are several instances of humans in SpongeBob that seem to have been overlooked by popular skin theory material. In this video, we will examine all of these additional instances. Patchy the Pirate, appearing in Season 2, is considered the host of the show and appears in many episodes. He never directly interacts with the residents of Bikini Bottom, but does react to the occurrences in the show as if they are real. He appears to only be pretending to be a pirate, just wearing a costume, I guess. Even Tom Kenny is quoted in saying that Patchy is just a city guy who has an enthusiasm for being a pirate. That's not a direct quote, but that's essentially what he said. Interestingly, Patchy is also shown in animated form. The Artist at Sea. In the first few moments of Frankendoodle, episode 14 from season 2, an artist drops his pencil into the water from a small boat. The pencil descends through the water till it ends up in front of SpongeBob and Patrick. For many people, this is an episode they remember well, as it is one that introduced the legendary character Doodlebob. Originally set to be the final ending of the SpongeBob saga, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie is a well-known classic. Although it ultimately didn't fulfill its intended purpose, a sea diver appears as SpongeBob and Patrick make their journey to Shell City, later revealed to be Shell City Marine Gifts and Sundries, a shop that exhibits, among other things, dried versions of sea creatures. I remember this one. It looked like SpongeBob and Patrick were going to die. Kinda sad.
David Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff also appears in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Acting as himself, he rescues the protagonist, escorting them to shore after morphing into a speedboat. I always thought this was so weird when I saw this one. I remember thinking, this is SpongeBob, but just why? Someone at Nick must be a big fan. I don't know.
Really hot.
This cutaway kinda scared me as a kid. I remember getting nervous before it played. Looking at this scene through the skin of the early lens is also unsettling, but nothing could top that laugh.
The Chief.
I remember this one as one of the more inappropriate moments of SpongeBob. Appearing on a large screen situated in Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy's lair, the Chief directly interacts with the characters of the show, and it seems to have an important stake on what's going on. He is seen doing the fake kissing routine. I remember my mom walking in and just turning the TV off.
The Elderly.
They're the greatest. Here, SpongeBob throws up some of his favorite footage.
The Fisherman.
These two are from an iconic season 1 episode, Hooky. I'm guessing you can remember, or at least guess what happened.
Buns and Thighs.
When SpongeBob makes a remark about a workout routine, this person is shown agreeing with him.
The Drummer.
After Sandy refers to a fishing from a plane as fly fishing, a human drummer is shown playing the famous punchline fill. On a Christmas-themed airing of SpongeBob, where SpongeBob is tasked with bringing Christmas to the citizens of Bikini Bottom, Santa is shown as a human near the end of the episode. SpongeBob's dream girl. SpongeBob tries to hypnotize Gary in the episode. Gary takes a bath. He does this in hopes of getting him to take a bath, which he continuously resists. Unfortunately, SpongeBob mistakenly sends him a picture of a farm lady with pigtails. This, while a very unsettling laugh plays, imported music. In one episode, Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff share a romantic candlelit dinner. Miss Puff exclaims, "Imported music," as the scene pans to an underwater dive playing the piano. Night of the Robot. On a scary night, SpongeBob sits alone in front of a glowing screen in his living room. Here, we see is watching a show where a human is chased by a robot. Interesting that the robot is also in a human costume. Party guests. During a special episode, Patchy has several party guests in his home. These include a mermaid, fellow pirate, and some more casual guests. They are gathered for a special SpongeBob event, the orchestra. On the episode where Mr. Krabs and the rest of the Krusty crew is on Mr. Krabs' fishing boat, as this unsettling scene unfolds, Mr. Krabs reveals a live orchestra aboard the ship. Worlds collide. In another Patchy skit, a caveman drummer plays alongside a robot singer. Hey stranger, an old lady in an overpowered mobility scooter sends Patchy's TV remote through his window. Mr. Piratson appears to parallel Mr. Krabs in Patchy's universe, as he hands Patchy an order to cook on the grill. Hip young old folk. In a cutaway, initiated by SpongeBob, an elderly man stars in a rather extreme soda commercial. French narrator, shown in a high-profile submarine. He has a quick conversation with Sandy over the telephone. The nut-stealing arm. In a more recent episode, Sandy creates a device capable of teleportation and potentially interdimensional travel. She uses it to steal some food from an unsuspecting person. Roger Bumpus. In an episode where the characters traverse in an interdimensional vessel, Roger Bumpus, the voice of Squidward, Squidward appears as himself as Squidward peeks through the monitor. Shaved head. In a chase scene, the characters flash across the screen. They're shown shaving someone's head. All the voices. In a certain scene, I'm really not sure where it's from. Each of the voice actors for Squidward, Patrick, Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, Sandy, and Plankton play out a scene as if they were in the actual Krusty Krab as humans. The reason, it is imperative that we discuss the fact that most of the instances to support skin theory are primarily drawn from the first 4 seasons, and that the production of these seasons was primarily under the supervision of the show's creator, Steven Hillenburg. He was a marine science educator, according to his wiki page, and among other things, SpongeBob was arguably his greatest success. However, at the end of season 3, Hillenburg wanted to end the show before it jumped the shark, a term used to describe when a show has reached a point where far-fetched events are included, essentially to keep the show alive. That's kind of an interesting quote given the current topic. It may be that the creator just thought that was enough for SpongeBob. Skin theory is just that, a theory. A well-supported one, if I might add, with many other veins of proof I didn't really get into. So once again, I will encourage you to watch the original skin theory video by Doug Woolover that inspired me to make this video. I'll link it in the description, and don't forget to check out my last video on Dream and the possible true reasons behind his face reveal. And as always,